Hello, everyone, and welcome to this TrueFire Live broadcast. Today, we're not in TrueFire Studios for obvious reasons. And welcome to this TrueFire Live broadcast. Today, we're not in TrueFire Studios for obvious reasons. Broadcasting from our homes. We have, this is our first remote live broadcast. We've got Tommy in his home running the switch. Moderating from his home. This is our first one. There may be a couple of glitches here and there, but just hang tough with us. And use chat, if you would, to give us a little feedback to make sure you're seeing and hearing everything correctly. Meanwhile, we're kicking off these new TrueFire Live broadcasts with a really special show. Two of my very favorite people, Tim Lerch and John Knowles, who, although they live, on, separate coasts, they have collaborated a lot on arrangement and fingerstyle pieces, and we're going to discuss some of that today. So let's say, first of all, hello to John Knowles in Nashville. How are you doing today, John?
I'm doing good. I'm in my upstairs studio. It was my son's room when he was young. So I inherited a studio and became it with the guest.
And Tim, where in the world are you?
I'm in Tacoma, Washington, which is just south of Seattle, and I'm down in my basement. So I'm in the opposite end of the house of Donna, and look forward to spending a little time.
Yeah, what's interesting to see, it really is very interesting. We've done, I don't know, I can't tell you how many. And it's interesting to see, kind of the sets everyone has arranged for themselves at their home. That's a very nice set you have behind you there, Tim, and John as well. So, guys, on the YouTube page and on the TrueFire page, you got you have a look at some of the projects they've done individually. Tim has got Solo Jazz Pathways out and live, and a couple of courses in pre-order. Tim, what are those courses we just shot, before everything came crashing down?
We just shot a harmonic enhancement, which is part of the Solo Jazz Pathways series. And the idea with that is to take a simple song with simple chords and fancy them up a little bit, learn about a little bit of harmonic coloring, perhaps a mild reharmonization, and the idea is to take simple songs and fancy them up. And then the other one was the jazz theme course where I'm playing melodic ideas, soloing over the banking theme over some various complicated people.
And John, you have in your library already, fingerstyle journals, 1 and 2, and certified guitar duets, which we'll talk about a little bit later because it's really relevant to what you're doing here.
Yeah, with the duets, Tommy and I had Tommy Emmanuel and I had spent a couple of years. He would fly by and I would brag him for a moment, figuring out how to do nice duets, which means really supporting each other and staying out of each other's way and listening carefully and balancing and all those kind of things that go when you play together. And so we did that course, Certified Duets. And then the other two courses I have right now are both me, mostly some of my compositions, a couple of traditional things, but also I like to talk about kind of where an idea comes from and how I develop it and turn it into a piece. And I think I'd like to share not just what I'm doing, but how I'm working as much as the tunes themselves.
Yeah, fingerstyle journals too. You really focus on that aspect of telling us, the kind of the genesis of the song, what inspired you, and how you, uh, imagined, the music from that experience and how you composed and arranged it. You
It's a big,
guys have.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think a big thing to know is that all of us have stuff between our ears 24 hours a day, and it's more interesting sometimes than we think it is. So if you just kind of take notes of your own imagination, very often inspiration abounds.
You and Tim. Tim, tell us a little bit about the conversations concept that you and John work on.
Okay, the idea was we wanted to, John and I got together and did about an hour and a half of just hanging out and talking shop and sharing and saying, hey, do you know this? Hey.
But he had invented a really good platform to avoid the latency we could be playing together. We can't do that.
Yeah.
But why don't you guys take us through a few examples of some of the projects you're working on?
John, John, I'll talk about this for just a second. Um, I posted something the other day on Facebook after we heard that Ellis Marcellus and Bucky Pizzarelli had both passed away on the same day. And the tune that just couldn't avoid thinking about was, "Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans?" And then the other day when John and I were talking about what we could do in this format, the idea was that we'd take that tune that we both know and love, and he would play, say, the first eight, and then I would play the first eight, again, the same part, and people who are watching could hear the differences and similarities in what we have to say on the tune. And then we'll continue like that, kind of going back and forth. He plays something, we chat about it, and I play something and we chat about it.
Well, and the thing that got me going on the tune is emotional, as what Tim described. Our daughter was living in New Orleans when Katrina hit, and so all of a sudden that song had a resonance. So both Tim and I are coming from a place of emotional resonance with the song itself.
Well, why don't you go ahead, John?
All right, yeah.
Okay, very good. Nice. Um, said he wanted to play it in A, and I usually play it in C. So I'm having a lot of fun exploring the key of A, actually. And it's interesting how you're playing, because you have the beautiful nylon string guitar. You're playing in no more open position stuff. I tend to avoid open position stuff, so I might play it like this.
Yeah. You know, the thing is, we both salivate when we hear each other play.
That's Thank you, John.
Harmonically, you're really hearing it. When I first put the harmony together, I listened to Louis Armstrong play the tune, and I was basically, because I didn't really know how the song went. I knew, "Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans?" And I knew there was more, and I couldn't remember it. So I went to iTunes and I listened to Louis because I figured that's as good a source as any. And so when I learned the song, I was learning the chords in C, but I was also hearing the lyrics. And I think studying it in another key and then having to move it had a lot to do with kind of how I came up with my version.
Oops, I'm back on. Good. Yeah, I listened to Louis' version and basically learned it. And then I heard Harry Connick do a version with Dr.
Oh,
John, which was really poignant for me. And I sing the song as well. So I think I took a few of Harry's inflections and I may have put them in. This is one of those tunes where there's, maybe Louis' version of the melody is definitive now because he did the famous version. But if you compare like the written melody to, like what we're playing, there's little differences, right? We have to navigate those differences. Show me what you do when you go to the 4 chord.
Let's see, D, 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 D. Well, here I did. I'm doing this C, this D chord with the B, and there's my little chromatic note, and then here is my diminished chord, but I'm not using my pinky. I'm skipping just the 3-note chord and reaching over to grab the A, the first string. And then, this is weird, because I'm making a chord without my first finger. Because I'm going to have to use that first finger to get that little chromatic passage.
And you're using an E in the bass there, right?
Yeah.
Ah.
So what I'm doing, D, 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 D. Yeah. Very often, for me, from having played bass for a while in high school, I almost like to box an arrangement in. Like, here's the melody, here's the bass line, give me some chords.
Yep, I do that too. On my choice was.
Yes.
There you are. Yeah, but same kind of idea.
And once you've done that, you can come back around the cycle of fifths that way.
Good. Okay, now let's hear the second. Let's see if there's any differences on your second A.
See, if the mist of moss covered the tall river.
Yeah, I think the second 8 for me is I'm tempted to do some counterpoint, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pull it off.
Oh yeah.
That kind of thing. That type of
Yes.
thing. Yeah. And then we'll try that, I miss the one I care for. And then I think that's something I got from Harry's version.
Oh man, I like that. Yeah.
Well, let's hear your bridge, John, because you do something interesting on the bridge.
I was telling Tim before we came live that the way I work on something is kind of more like what you see me doing right now. That is, I'm kind of arranging out loud. If I'm going to perform it or record it, I tend to settle on something. And today I'm less settled. I'm more thinking out loud because I think that's more useful to us. Plus, who could be settled in these crazy times, So yeah, when I go, la, my, and that's my G minor 7, and there's my melody note. But now I usually don't go to that F, I'll go to an E7 and then come up to an F. And that's part of what I'm sneaking into my whole arrangement now, is that sense of being disoriented from the storm, from Katrina. Very often I'm going a half step away from where I need to be and then going back. Because when I went visited New Orleans afterwards, everything was in the wrong place. So I thought, why not put some of the notes in the wrong place and then let them, resolve themselves.
That's beautiful. For me, when I learned this bridge, I thought, oh, it's the same bridge as Angel Eyes.
Oh, wow.
It's very similar. The melody's a little different.
Yeah.
For me, I get them.
That harmony, yeah.
What do we want to do there? Ah. The last deal. Hey, Brad, do you want to jump in? Got anything?
I do. I'm always good for an interstitial commercial break.
Yeah.
I love to shout out to everybody. We have quite a few people on the stream and encourage you all. A lot of you are chiming in and telling us where you are in the world. If you haven't yet done so, please do so. We have already Algeria, Las Vegas, Portland, Macon, Georgia, England, Calgary, Vermont, Netherlands, Guatemala, Texas, Klamath Falls, and Oregon, and more coming in. I hope everybody is safe and sound out there. We also have a trivia question, two of them actually, and we'll be giving away a $100 gift card. Underneath the video, you'll see a link to the trivia question. Don't answer the trivia question, please, here in the chat, because you'll give away the answer. But click that link, answer it there. There are two trivia questions. That means you have two chances at winning the $100 gift credit if you answer them correctly. And you'll also see a link underneath the video that'll lead you to both Tim and John's courses. And we're going to highlight, actually, we're going to show off some of that stuff for you in a little while. So chime in, tell us where you're from, and please, you see that little thumbs up underneath the video? Clicking that would be, a terrific way to show your appreciation, show your love and help spread the love for both Tim and John. Guys, it strikes me, having worked with you both as much as we have, that, you have very, very different kind of musical backgrounds, the styles. I remember when I heard that you two worked together as much as you did, it was a little surprising to me. Like, I can see John Knowles playing with Tommy Emmanuel, right? I couldn't quite figure this thing out. So could you address that a little bit? Like, how do you find a common ground to collaborate on a tune together? How do you do that? John, I'll start with you.
Well, we kind of met accidentally in a crowd, and as we chatted, the crowd disappeared, and it was just the two of us going back and forth about who we loved. And we borrowed guitars that night, I think, from somebody. We didn't even have guitars there with us, and played a little bit for each other. And then we found out our common interest in players like Lenny Breau and Ted Green and George Van Epps, and so there was an already kind of a historic background to what we did. And then as soon as I heard him play a little bit, I just wanted to know more. And so it just started, like, from then on, it just seemed natural, That sound plausible?
It sounds very well. Yeah. Tim, what's your perspective on that?
I had been aware of John, and we did meet at this guitar gathering, and we played on some Ken Parker guitars, so that was kind of nice. They were very nice guitars. And like John said, the common area that we immediately discovered was Lenny Breau. John had worked with Lenny Breau. I had studied with Lenny Breau and was kind of a casual friend of his when he was living in Los Angeles, or when we were both living in Los Angeles. And another thing which I think might be a little subtler is that John is more of an arrangement player, and I'm definitely not. But strangely, I admire the arrangement players probably the most because they're doing something that I find elusive. And so I just found that when I listened to John play, there was an essential quality to his music that I really, really love. There's a kind of level of beauty and just essentialness that there's nothing extra. There's no look ma, no hands kind of stuff going on. And I really appreciated that. And when we play together, I especially appreciate him contributing that type of thing.
Very cool.
You know, I'll add to that. You know, the thing that I enjoy about Tim's playing in that way is the fact that he's always playing off the cuff, and I kind of keep a certain amount of off the cuffness in what I do, so that arrangements don't become locked in and frozen. So anytime I can be kind of nudged away from my plan over to free expression, that's always a good thing too.
Awesome. Could I ask both of you, pick any tune you want and perform it? Any tune. And let's give people a little bit of a musical treat here. Tim, you start.
I'm experiencing a little bit of a technical thing where there's some background stuff coming in. So I'll do a nice little short version of Georgia on My Mind, which is something I improvised on during my course, but I didn't play the melody. And on my channel, something like this arrangement will be
Beautiful. Thank you.
Man, I'm loving that.
You did cover that in Solo Jazz Pathways. And, you know, it strikes me, as I'm sure it strikes, you know, everyone who's tuned in here. We've seen an amazing range and selection of live streams from artists. And I'm sure it's not lost on anybody that, you know, losing gigs and tours and festivals is really, you know, a hurtful thing for musicians who make their living that way, right? And everyone, you know, they're free. You know, it's like this resilience of, hey, okay, we can't go out there, we can't gig, we, you know, can't make the money the way we used to. We're still going to play music, and I think that's a really a beautiful thing. You know, and I feel I need to be a little more gratuitous than usual, and urge you to check out Tim's Solo Jazz Pathways. You know, you'll find the links underneath the video, and you know, the course is phenomenal. We're running, you know, all kinds of promotions and sales to do what we can to help you know, everybody make a living during these hard times. You'll find Solo Jazz Pathways on sale at, you know, many points during this month of April. Pick it up. You will not be disappointed, and everybody will appreciate that. John, how about After Paris from you?
I think that's a good one. I know Chet always said, "Be sure and play your hit," you know, and, and I think After Paris is. I think of it as my hit as a teacher because I've seen a lot of people learn it and play it on YouTube, both as a solo and as a duet. So, and then of course in the courses, I play it as a solo in one of the courses, and then Tommy and I play it again as a duet. So I'm going to talk like sixth string down to D. After Paris.
Beautiful, man. Thank you for that. That definitely is one of my favorites, and you cover that in the certified guitar duets course you did with Tommy Emmanuel and a variety of other tunes.
I'll mention one thing about when Tommy and I did that as a duet first. He had me record it as a solo, and he said, "I love that." And I said, "No, there's room for you here." And so I said, "You go back and put all that stuff that feels like Paris," and just gave him that assignment, and he immediately just, elevated the performance with his way of doing it.
As usual, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That was an experience to see you two guys in the studio. That course, I think, is not only a great teaching course, but just a great documentary on two artists coming together, very different artists, and seeing you guys collaborate. And a lot of that was, you did have a curriculum, you did follow the curriculum, but a lot of the material was very spontaneous, and it was incredible insight into, how you guys do what you do. So I've got more shout outs, and these are always doing the shout outs to people who are tuned in, because it always amazes me how we come together like this, and it means more to us than ever before. There's a great kind of little tagline going around, we're alone but we're together. We have folks tuned in from New York, Philadelphia, Vienna, Austria, Jersey Shore, Rome, Belgium, Saigon, San Jose, Petaluma, Bermuda, Bozeman, Phoenix, Colorado Springs, Arkansas, Michigan, Ireland, Minnesota, Ohio, LA, Manchester, Cincinnati, Wisconsin, Algeria, Las Vegas, Portland, Macon, England, Quebec. It's incredible, and I thank you all. I thank you, on behalf of the artists, on behalf of TrueFire, for tuning in and supporting us. So thank you for that. I have a couple of questions for you guys. Talk about how you handle when you come together and collaborate in kind of a duo setting, how you would handle intros or endings or turnarounds. How do you agree on that, especially given?
Well, first of all, when you're playing with another musician, particularly in a duo, the most important aspect I think that anybody can bring to it is deep listening. Because if you're just the two of you, you really have to listen. You can't just go on autopilot, because there's just one other person reacting and you're reacting to them. So you have to listen. And so that's the first and most important thing. Leaving room for the other person, as in a conversation. We all know what it's like to try to have a conversation with someone who talks over you. And that can be frustrating. It can also be fascinating and interesting. I've been in duos where my partner was so verbose that I just got to be quiet and hang behind and support them, and that can also be very wonderful feeling, a kind of generosity that can occur. Now let's turn it over to John.
That's really true. Guitar players are so good at playing by themselves, and there's nothing worse than trying to listen to two guitar players playing as if they were playing by themselves simultaneously. It's just a train wreck, to the listener. And of course, and like Jim mentioned, to the player, it's the same thing. The more I can feel like I can make a little comment on something, and there can be a response coming back, either in a live improvising setting or in a arranging setting. Either one, to know that the parts are going to dovetail, I think, is a good thing. I think the other thing for me is I always look, when I think about intros, I look to the tune to see if the song itself has given you some material. I know one of the things that Chet was big on was making sure that you could hear the rhythm of the title. And the sooner you can let somebody hear that, the more they feel like they know the tune. A lot of people are not used to listening to instrumental music. They're kind of waiting for the singer to tell them what they're hearing. And so I very often just look to see, is there something in the melody itself that will help, create an intro. I'm thinking of one example when I first learned how to play The Nearness of You by backing up singers. So I was hearing people sing it, and that had a lot to do with what I did. And the opening melody, I'm in the key of E now, is. So those notes go all the way from a B up to a high B, and I'm in the key of E. So for an intro, what I did was I snuck up on that melody. I did. And I just harmonized underneath it. I did, and I was in tune when I did it, but it's not the piano. Then you're into the tune, So what you've done is, there's a little bit of a puzzle. It's like, what's he doing? Oh, I see what he's doing. But I've kind of taken him by the hand and led the listener a little bit that way.
That's beautiful, John. One thing I like to do is hint at the tune and then take it somewhere else and then come back. So, for instance, on this tune we were playing earlier, I was playing around and I realized that I could play the melody with harmonics. Sorry. And then I decided, well, take it up a minor third. Oh, sorry. And then back to the 2 chord. And then the 1. So we say, Okay. So the idea is to hint at the tune. If you're playing with a singer, you want to kind of set them up so if they need to find their note or something like that. The other thing I like to do in a duo setting is I like to offer one or the other of us to set the tune up rather than try and make an arrangement out of the intro. I'll just say, John, we're going to play, that song. What was that song? The Nearness of You. I'll say, John, set it up. And John will play, a bit just like that, and then I can come in with the melody or vice versa. So that's a nice approach as well as offer the other person, hey, set us up. Is that helpful, Brad? Does that answer your
That
question?
was excellent. I want to throw you guys a curveball.
Good.
How about, I'm kind of tripping back to some of the spontaneous moments in the course you did with Tommy. Pick a tune, any tune, and start that creative collaboration, maybe even on an intro for a tune. Pick a tune.
You want to do, you play I'm in the Mood for Love?
Oh, okay, sure.
But I do it in C, but we could do it somewhere else.
No, C's fine. C's fine.
Okay.
So
And
see
then
if you could mimic how you would approach, sharing ideas and coming up with, an arrangement that works for the both of you.
Well, one of the things, if I think about the song, I'm in the mood for love. I'm in the mood for love simply because you're near me. Funny, but when you're near me. Now, there's a little part right there that could be intro worthy. Funny, but when, funny, but when, funny, but when you're near me. I'm in the mood for love, and then you're into it,
Right, that's using your idea of taking a little bit and building on it and then coming up with so
Then you're in. I tell you, I get that idea from being the preacher's kid, because that's what the organist would do, is play the last line of the hymn to help the congregation know when to come in,
how about this, John? How about if I went
Yeah,
and I give him a big 5-chord to hang?
yeah, and then I'm in the mood, and then we're in. Yeah, that's a perfect way to do that. Then the bridge of that thing is pretty far out there compared to the rest of the tune. Every now and then, I have played the bridge of a tune first to let people, but that bridge does not suggest that song to the average listener.
What do you got there? Yeah.
Yeah, and look at this. This is us. If it weren't for the Mississippi River, we'd be sitting right there together. I got to thank Brad for the curveball there. The curveball turned out to be a softball, didn't it?
Yeah, it's I'm noticing everyone would love to be able to if it weren't for the latency issues, to be able to jam with each other, but this type of thing, two people just collaborating and sharing ideas, is pretty cool too.
Okay, John, let's try this. Am I still? Yeah, let's try this, John. I'll do a rubato version of the first 4.
Okay.
And then see if you can, and I'll just pause and you can just jump in with
Okay.
what.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. And whatever.
Oh, sorry, let me just do it.
Yes.
Okay, more curveballs for you both. Okay, which I think is what this whole thing is all about, right? But first, some shout outs. Greece is tuned in, Boston, Laguna Beach, Manchester, UK, Jerusalem, Red Lodge, Montana, Jeff Sheets' favorite place on the universe. Jeff is tuned in here, our director of education.
Oh,
I think he likes that because the fly fishing is pretty good up there. I could be mistaken, but I think that may be the case. We have Pittsburgh. We have Nova Scotia, Lyon, France, Victoria, British Columbia, one of my favorite places on the planet, Croatia, Bern, Switzerland. Just amazing.
My people come from Bern, Switzerland.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Well, that could be your people then.
maybe it's my people.
Okay, here's a curveball from Lee Candiotti. He wants to know if you could, either one of you or both of you, improvise an intro to Shenandoah.
Oh,
John, you got anything?
let's see.
Do it.
Shenandoah.
Okay. So we're doing it in E there, huh, John?
Yeah. And then you've got also this thing.
Yeah.
Well,
One trick that I like to use, I think I just saw you use it a little bit too, is I'll play the first phrase, and then instead of going where you think it's going, which is, I'll go to 4 minor instead. So I'll say, because 4 minor leads us very nicely to 3, and then we can play our little, 2-5 type.
then the other thing I'm thinking of is a little later in the song, far across. So to harmonize just that phrase in some way, would be a good way to do that.
I see. You ever use that device, John, where we say, let's say I'm going to play the song on the second time through. I might play, instead of playing this, I might play this.
Oh, yeah.
You know what that is in the key of E, that would be B flat minor 7 flat 5.
Yeah.
Right? Which is really an E6 or a E6 chord with B flat in the bass. You use that, right, John?
Oh, yeah, I did. And I'll tell you, the other one I'm thinking of is if you did, is I say, what other chords that are kind of in the key you could be there on this note? This one this is motion from the 5th note on the scale to the first note of the scale implies E chords so clearly. And if you don't play an E there, you really perk the listener's ears up. As long as you don't go, all the way out to Cleveland with it,
You could go to Cleveland, though. You could say,
Yes.
that's there. Or anything. The trick is you can go where you need to go as long as you can wind your way back.
Yeah.
Some fashion that doesn't confuse you or the listener.
I was thinking really quickly of a little kind of, this motif is so strong. And to go da dee dee dee, da dee dee dee, da dee dee dee. And in your head, so. I realized kind of what's happening there. I'm not just thinking about the guitar. I'm thinking about what an orchestra might do. And, I have like my favorite classical orchestrators. Then you have the guys like Nelson Riddle, who did all the great.
I love Nelson.
So in my head, I've got a catalog of that stuff from listening. So very often I'll steal from my memory of what other instruments have done.
Yep, we steal.
That's beautiful. More curveballs coming. And by the way, guys, feel free. We're gathering all of the questions. If you have, what an opportunity. You got these two geniuses here. They'll answer any question you ask. And you'll probably get a couple of perspectives. And what I love is, they do have similar perspectives and very different perspectives on things. And when they bridge those different perspectives, you have some really magical moments, which I think you've just witnessed here. We're going to post we posted some links to both of these guys' courses. I think your time will be well spent digging in deep to any of the courses you see listed there. And, it supports the cause. Also, that thumbs up underneath the video, let's get that if you get that to 100, we're at 76 right now. If you get it to 100, I will force the both of them to play another solo tune of their choice for you. Fair deal? Okay, curveball. Let's see who wants to do My Funny Valentine.
John, have you got anything on My Funny Valentine?
I had been a while since I've done it, but I
you
remember
have it in your fingerstyle quarterly archive, according to Daria Nev.
done there is I just put a chromatic scale into the melody. Mm-hmm. And I remember hearing Lenny do that, but he did it down an octave. He was doing it kind of like a drum trio feel. And I just put the two voices close together. In that case, what I'm doing is I'm thinking about saving the low notes for later in the arrangement. And like you would in an orchestra, you've got the strings coming in, and then later you've got the bass and the low brass coming in.
You're doing it in, am I on here? I can't.
A minor goes to the Indian.
Oh, you're doing it in A minor. Yeah, Lenny told me he did it in A minor. I played it for him in C minor, which is the common key. And he said, hey, man, try it in A minor. So I did it, and it gives you the ability to play the melody. Okay.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the chorus. But then you could also say, something along those lines. So you get the little chords down below, so the melody can really sing up above.
When you talk about playing it in 2 keys, sidebar anecdote here. I remember Lenny playing at a club here in town, Mississippi Whiskers, where all of us would show up and just rock dead silent, But there was always somebody going blah, blah, blah in the corner, Typical jazz club. And so Lenny played My Funny Valentine, and he finished, and the rest of us just sat there. And this guy did this, and he said, "Hey, man, can you play My Funny Valentine?" And so Lenny says, "Can you hum it?" And he made the guy hum it. And then he played it again in a different key, just like you were saying, So he was really having fun with that moment we've all experienced, Oh, I tell you another thing I remember picking up from Lenny was the idea of moving harmony in parallel fourths underneath melody. So if you, each day is Valentine, and now I'm going just underneath the melody. And I think that's a kind of a keyboard McCoy Tyner kind of thing that he picked up. Lenny was always listening to other musicians besides guitar players.
We there's a post somebody posted in chat thanking us for some free access to TrueFire, and I just want to take a moment and let everyone know, and feel free to spread the word. So many schools are shut down, and what limited arts and music programs are out there today are obviously also shut down. We are offering any teacher and their students free access to the library for 90 days, and we'll extend that if necessary. If you go to truefire.com/K12, truefire.com/K12, sure Allie will post that in there. And the best thing to do is to have your teacher. The teacher goes there, enters their school and their name, and we'll send them back the information they need to get their students enrolled. It's been the reception to that has been overwhelmingly kind of warming and really, really feel good. So thank you. I can't find you in this long chat here, but whoever posted the thank you to us, thank you. So urge everyone to go and spread the word. The other thing is, there's so many people out of work all over the world, and that includes a lot of our students. And I just want to say that if you find yourself in any kind of, whether you're a student or not a student, in any kind of, duress financially, and you feel for whatever reason you can't continue your subscription, or you really would love to have a course to work with, shout out to us at the help desk. That's help@truefire.com. We'll make something work for you. Okay. Just like the artists are keeping the music alive by, donating their time in their basements, in their home studios, streaming music for free, streaming lessons for free. We're going to do our part as well. So please don't let what's happening today, block you in any way from continuing your journey down the music path. Okay, we are absolutely.
Brad, if I can do a shout out here.
Please.
I think people who normally kind of take a TrueFire course and so forth, you can see the strength of the technical infrastructure at TrueFire for delivering all this stuff. And I hope what you're seeing today is that TrueFire has also got a musician support infrastructure. Both the students and giving Tim and I this chance to talk to you guys is a big deal. And so I really appreciate whoever shouted out the thank you. I'll ditto the thanks.
Absolutely. The other thing we posted here is a link to truefire.com/live. And you'll notice in the month of April, we'll have many of these. You guys are, you're the first audience on this TrueFire Live remote thing. We have to give a shout out to Tommy, who's head of production. Tommy, can you make yourself appear on the screen?
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Here we are.
That's Tommy. He's got a guitar or two there at home with him. But Tommy has really rallied to the cause and tried. We were doing these from our studio. We had all the cameras in place, all this cool tech. We wanted to continue doing them so that we can, shift locations and camera angles. And, he's been, 24/7 trying to figure this out. And we really, really appreciate the effort because we managed to pull this first one off with all of you today. Okay, a couple of hiccups, a couple of audio hisses, this and that, but so far, so good. Thank you, Tommy, for that. Give us one more shot at you, man.
Here I am one more time. How's it going, everybody?
Beautiful haircut. Hair is
It's been
divine.
it's been
I
fun.
think he's setting up a guitar store there, moonlighting this. Hey, I
Yeah.
recognize a couple of those instruments, Tommy.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want that one back, okay? So you guys, within, I think, 30 seconds of us asking you to get us to 100 on the thumbs up, boom, we're already, it happened instantly. So no time like the present. Oh, wait. I want you guys to both think about what tune you want to play. Full-length tune for everyone. But one more shot at that trivia question. Click the link underneath the video that says trivia question for a $100 gift card. We will, for this audience today, for jumping in and being so supportive, we're going to give away 2 of those $100 gift cards today. Just go and answer the questions. Don't put, I think we have trivia winner 1. We already have 2. Look at that. Eyes Without a Face, you get a $100 gift card. And trivia winner 2, Tree Spring, gets a $100 gift card. We'll be doing these with.
All right. Yeah.
Go check out the live schedule. We've got lots of these happening. 2 more things we want to do, man. We want to answer 3 things, really. We want the performances. Maybe we do that now. Then a gear rundown. And then we'll see if we have any questions we haven't answered yet. So who's ready to do their performance?
I'll go.
You're on.
Yeah.
And give us the background, like Fingerstyle Journeys 2 style,
This one is just an old melody I've loved. When I was a kid growing up in school, when we had like music classes all the time, I sang lots of Stephen Foster melodies. And one of my favorites has always been Beautiful Dreamer. Great melody, great opportunity for moving voices and so forth. And at this time, the idea of bringing peace to a moment in our lives feels good to me. So I'll see if I can remember Beautiful Dreamer.
Beautiful, man.
That was so nice, John.
Tim, what do you got for us?
Well, since I don't want to upset things and change the key or anything, I'll do a song I call I don't call it this. I call it this because it's the name of it. It's called Smile. It was written by Charlie Chaplin. There's a very interesting sound at the beginning of this song. It's one diminished, and one diminished is kind of a lost sound. So it goes like this. And then just because John's here,
Yeah.
Beautiful, guys. Thank you for that, and thanks for all of you for those thumbs up. It means really so much. Couple of quick questions. Tim, will you answer this, or you both answer this one? Lookery Buddy 2 asks, when you don't have another player with you, which is very likely the situation today for all of us, right? Do you get value in recordings to play to or play along with?
my backing tracks when I was a kid learning how to play, my backing tracks were B.B. King Live at the Regal and Charlie Parker records. I mean, I just played along with the records, and the downside was I got an inflated idea of how well I was doing because I was being supported by these great. It's pretty easy to sound good when you're got BB playing. You're feeding you ideas, but of course now when I'm playing, I don't use backing tracks much. I find that I'm much more challenging for me and much more interesting for me is to try and develop a kind of pulse and groove by myself, even if I'm playing single line things, and not necessarily what you might think of in a solo guitar context. So if I say, so that approach, so maybe thinking of how I might play if I was in a trio or even if I was playing solo, and I'm imagining the pulse and creating the pulse rather than relying on even another musician, but particularly a backing track to help me with that. I find that we can really grow a lot if we spend time learning about the harmony and the time feel without the accompaniment or even without a metronome. But then listening to yourself back and seeing how successful you were at it can also be very instructive.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like you, Tim, I initially had LPs of my heroes, and I played along with them. And one of the upsides of that, I think, was that by the time I met Ted Atkins, I had been playing with him for 15 years. It was like it was the live version of my LP. So I felt right at home, and he made me feel at home too. So I really realized how much I had learned, not just the tunes, but the attitudes and the approaches and what else you could do and things like that. So, and there was nothing to see, no tab, no video. I had to listen. So I became a listener and a learner in that way. So what I would say every now and then, when you log into TrueFire, put a towel over the monitor and see if you can play along without looking. so that your ear becomes, and then you can always look and see how close you were. When I finally saw Chet in person, I realized I'd gotten pretty close just by listening. So I think, remember that, I think the multi-sensory approach that you've got here at TrueFire means multi. It means don't just look and not listen. It means multi, so that's kind of what I would say.
I also would say that it might be really good if someone, because we always learn, I know Brad has talked about this, we always learn by, hey, show me that, right? Hey, you see somebody who does something you can't do, you say, oh, wait, what are you doing there?
Yeah.
And it's a sort of mirror image. And so with TrueFire courses, you can do that too. Just don't look at the tab unless you can't figure it out by watching and learning. Use the tab as a kind of last resort rather than your first resort. And I think that would, then there's two things that are going to be learned. Not only the music that you're trying to get, but also you'll learn, have the benefit of developing your ear and developing your sense of the musical logic that's at play. So sometimes you can just say, oh, well, what's the logic here? Oh, okay, it must be a F sharp minor because we're in the key of A, or whatever it might be,
If I could pick up on what Tim just said, I like musical logic, which I would say is a much better term than music theory. Music theory sometimes is like really hard to imagine, yourself. But musical logic, I really like that because it means there's something going on here. And if I knew what it was, there would be alternatives and variations, and you learn by kind of trying to see what the logic is, both in the way a person plays, but also in the tunes they're playing.
Yeah, and if you understand the logic, then you can recreate it in your own way later. It doesn't have to be a kind of parroting only. I think we sometimes forget that eventually you have to play it your own way. Eventually you have to get it somehow and then represent yourself in the music rather than only parroting your heroes. You start there, but eventually we begin taking responsibility for our own musical choices. So understanding that logic is a very important thing.
Very cool. Thank you guys for that. How about a quick or not so quick, whatever you feel, talk about your instruments.
I'll start. This instrument is kind of not only my number one, it's kind of the only one I'm playing these days. I've gone through everything. I've had flat top acoustics and arch top electrics, but this guitar, Kirk Sand in Laguna Beach made this for me, and he looked at a lot of my favorite classic guitars. So it's modeled after a Kono, Japanese-made classic guitar, in terms of internal bracing and materials. But then I had him add things like a cutaway, and I've got a Rich Barbera pickup in it. I'm playing through Henriksen Bud 6 amplifier, which I find really sounds a lot like me unamplified. And the neck width up here is like 2 inches, just like a classic guitar. But I've got a little less wood in back than sometimes you have on a big, baseball bat style classical neck. And I remember when Kirk and I had conversations about building this guitar, he had listened to me play a lot. So he knew I wanted to have sustain, and he also knew I wanted to have uniformity of voice so that no matter where the melody was, it could kind of carry itself well. So I was really lucky. I think if you have a chance to talk with a builder, that's an amazing thing. If not, if you have a chance to go to a large enough shop where you can try several of the same thing and kind of know what suits you is a big deal.
Tim?
This is a beautiful and favorite guitar of mine. I've had it for a while. I do this thing where I get a guitar in my head and I hunt sometimes for years to find a representative of it that it fits my criteria, often which is also price. So, I mean, you could find something like this for, $9,000, but to find the $4,000 one is the real score. So anyway, I picked this up. I think it was from a guy in Texas about 2 years ago now. It's an ES350, but it's not the ES350T that we might be more familiar with. So it's a full depth 17-inch laminate top, arch top. I put a tunematic and an unwound G on it because I was curious how it might do, because it's really acoustically doesn't have much to say for itself, because it's the the laminate on the top is quite thick, which makes it in some ways the perfect amplified jazz guitar. These P90s are particularly good sounding ones. I love old P90s. And it's got a 25.5-inch scale. I put these little black doohickeys down here because the strings would resonate back here. And these things, I just went down to the hardware store and bought them and put them in between each pair of strings to kind of deaden the string a little bit. And then the interesting thing about this guitar is that it's wired usually master volume, master tone. And some people say this is a blend now, but I don't know how that works. I had it rewired so that it's master volume, real master volume. So I don't need a tone control because I don't like that sound. So I just have, this is the volume control for this pickup. This is the volume control for this pickup. And this one turns the whole thing up and down. So for instance, if you get a nice, both pickups on sound, I'll put them, and then I'll put that kind of more of a 2 pickup sound. This sort of more pingy. But if I like that sound, and I don't want to individually manipulate these 2 controls, I can turn it up or down here. And so anyway, that's my little idea. Typically, I'll use the neck pickup with just a little bit of the bridge pickup blended in to give just a little crispness on the note. And I'm playing through my venerable Princeton Reverb amplifier. That's my studio amp that I use all the time.
Can you hold the guitar a little closer to the camera? Kind of give us a pan from the headstock down to the tailpiece.
Is that in the shot? It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Ken Burnsing.
Why not?
There you go.
Hey, we have
Nice.
to do what we got to do.
And then we have the back.
It's just a beautiful instrument and
really is.
amazing tone. John, would you do the same thing with your instrument? Could you give us a Ken Burns?
So if you look on the rosewood on the back, it's really the delicious Brazil stuff. And I think Kirk got some of this from the guy who showed him how to make guitar. So it's probably a couple generations old. And then he ordered several pieces of that Sitka spruce that comes from the Pacific Northwest. And he called his best suppliers and he said, I'm going to make an important guitar. Send me 2 tops. So he picked this one out from 6. The 3 of his suppliers said we're going to be the real deal. And ebony on the fretboard. It's hard to tell, but if you could look under the pickup, you could actually see daylight here because the crystal is up near the string. That's Rich Barbera's design.
Wow.
Not unlike a violin bridge where you see that space underneath the strings, So that it makes the thing have a real quick response that I really like. And then other than
Very
that, it's it's a lot like if a classic guitarist picks it up, they're kind of amazed by how low my action is. And if a finger picker picks it up, they say, geez, your action is so high. So I think it must be just right to be in between those 2 styles of playing.
Well, I played that guitar, John, when we were here, and I felt it was rather playable. It was very, very comfortable.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Well, and you've done a lot of stuff. You mentioned the wiring the knobs. The 2 things I'm not afraid of, one of them is adjusting the slots at the nut to make sure that it has a real even action. And then I'm not afraid to kind of raise the saddle. If I have to start taking the saw to this thing, I fly out to California. So.
Yeah, we have to know how to do a little bit of that kind of adjustment. I'm a stickler for the nut as well. And I think that a lot of times the thing that makes a guitar feel most playable is how the nut is.
How the nut is, that's right.
And they're almost never cut right. It's probably I don't want to, my idea anyway is that you can use math to set a guitar up and gauges and stuff. But cutting a nut is an art form. I really have to see it and feel it. And I think the standard luthier thing of pressing here and then doing this doesn't quite get it as low as I like it.
Well, another thing you can do as a real easy test, if you put a cable on the first fret and your guitar is a lot easier to play, it's time to fix the nut.
Or if it's
That nut could behave like a capo, you know.
or if it's really out of tune.
If it's really out of tune, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Don, do you have a truss rod in your guitar?
No, there's not one.
Okay, that was a question from JL. And
I remember one time when we first got it set up,
yep.
Kirk put a little relief in the neck by setting it on his bench and putting a heat lamp on it
Mhm.
and getting it where it looked just right to him, and then clamping it and letting it cool overnight. So that was the acoustic truss rod.
And Mac is also chiming in on chat, saying he loves the idea of no tone controls, as do I, and only volumes for each pickup. That's very cool. And of course, Dan J picked up on the telly behind you, Tim,
Oh, right.
which you and I are. When I first heard that, I had to have one, and we're searching for one. Can you show that real quickly?
Let me put one down and pick the other one up. Little noise.
Just quickly tell folks what that's all about.
Okay, now this guitar is immediately you'll notice it's tuned down a half step. And I usually keep this guitar tuned down a half step because something about the way it sings. And the pickups are a curiosity. These are made by Jason Lawler here in Tacoma, Washington. It's wired something like a Stratocaster with a pull pot that allows for two more sounds. It's a custom shop no-caster from 2000 or so, right? The year 2000. And I put 12 to 54 strings with a plain G, and then I either tune it to standard pitch or 1/2 step lower.
Beautiful. Guys, thank you very much. We've run over because people were hanging tough. And, I think when you get a chance to read the chat, you'll see that everybody really enjoyed it. So on behalf of all these people, a round of applause to you. Both. You pulled it off. This is our first one. Tip of the hat to Tommy, doing all the switching, to Ali, doing all the moderating. I want to shout out to Tom Dempsey, Jeff Mackerlane, Jeff Sheets, all of whom also joined us. We've got streams coming up with both Tom and Jeff Mackerlane, and Jeff Sheets will be moderating, hosting many of these. I want to show on the screen our live schedule. If you go to truefire.com/live, you'll see our ever expanding schedule of live events. And you'll see the events, not just the ones that we're hosting. Tommy, see if you can flip to that. I'm not sure that's showing yet for the audience. It may be, but
Yeah, it's there now.
okay, great. We're also, any artists, any of you that are out there that are putting on live streams, you can come and enter your event, whether you're doing it on your own or you're doing it with any other organization. We are doing everything we can to promote these events as much as we can, including, staging our own, like this one. We get asked all the time. I see it here in this chat. What can we do? Can I donate this? Can I give $100 to an artist? This, honestly, the best thing you can do is go to their websites, connect with them, pick up a TrueFire course. They all have stores there where you can buy their courses directly from their websites. Both John and Tim will have a channel very, very shortly. And we're very excited about that. You can tell they're just incredible teachers, not just incredible musicians. as soon as those are live, you should consider subscribing to it. Subscription fees are really, very, very, very affordable, and the type of interaction and education you'll get out of it is worth every penny, plus which it supports the artists. If you are okay and can afford to, buy their courses, okay? That's the best way that you can help right now. And you'll notice that we've put pretty much the entire library on promotional discounts. And as I said before, if you can't afford it, okay, and you're in financial duress, okay, and you need a break, or you need a course to work with, or you need to extend a subscription, you just shout out to us at help@TrueFire, and that's what you'll get. No questions asked. Cool? So there you go. Thank you all for your attention for so long. Thank you, Tim, and thank you, John, for, a really remarkable session.
Thanks.
This goes on demand. If you came in late, it'll be on demand in the YouTube, our, TrueFire YouTube channel in a moment. And if you haven't yet, on your way out, click that thumbs up for the guys. Show your love, help spread the love. And we'll see you next time. Bye.